My brother just bought 3 light Sussex chickens. They're only young and they have very docile temperaments, and he bought them here in the Blue Mountains at the Sun Valley produce store. Now, I don't know if you remember, but a few weeks ago I did an episode on trying new things, and I said at the end of that episode that I was going to keep trying new things if I could. And it occurred to me after I saw my brother's chickens that I've actually never been to the Sun Valley produce store. And in fact, in the 25 years that I've lived here in the Blue Mountains, I've never actually been to Sun Valley. So I thought, well, why don't I try out Sun Valley? I was heading down to Penrith to do some shopping, and Sun Valley is just off the highway down the mountains a bit from Springwood. You turn into a long, narrow, winding road that takes you to a fairly isolated community that's full of big properties, acreage, where people raise some stock, kind of hobby farms, I guess. Maybe it's the way North Katoomba used to be. It's very lush, a touch of rainforest. There's really only one big road that does a kind of circle and brings you back to where you started. I found Sun Valley produce, but unfortunately it was shut on a Sunday. I did see some of the chickens that were on sale though. I also visited the Sun Valley Pony Club, which is an amazing open field in the middle of all this forest. There's a nice little clubhouse. And there are lots of hurdles and gates for show jumping, I guess. As well as what looks like some kind of dressage pen or something like that. And of course, right next door, a horse. I noticed plenty of horses in Sun Valley. They seem to rule there. The other settlement I haven't been to in the Blue Mountains is Lapstone. And on the way back from my trip to Sun Valley, like I went to Sun Valley, then I went to do some shopping in Penrith. And then on my way back, I thought, why don't I try and have a look at Lapstone? Because you know, I've never bothered before, even though I've lived here for 25 years. I know Lapstone from travelling on the train down to the city, but that means I've only ever seen the station and never from this angle. From the train, I've also read about the sedimentary dikes, sandstone formations revealed when the rock was cut to build the platform. But when I turned off the highway into Lapstone, I was entering unexplored territory. I did know that the suburb was created in the 1960s as a housing development, and that's kind of obvious when you drive through the perfect suburban streets. I also knew that the power lines were all laid underground, a really great idea, not just for aesthetic reasons, but because of bushfires. And finally, I knew that unlike pretty much anywhere else in Australia, the whole entire suburb has these fancy brick curbs, which were mostly laid by one person. But I didn't realise that Lapstone was built around a couple of deep gorges, one of which is part of a very nice reserve. Exploring Lapstone gave me a taste for exploring places closer to home, and I'd been thinking about a story involving a garbage tip, and I'd actually heard about a path that takes you behind the back of Katoomba waste facility, and I thought, well, that might be a bit interesting for me at the moment, so why don't I give that a go? So I set off up a track that's not far from Katoomba Cemetery. And when I came to a fork in the track, I turned right. Okay, so the path's getting quite skinny. But this path led to a more open area that was right near the stretch of road up from the entrance to the tip, which isn't what I was looking for. Confirmation, here's a truck. And here's the entrance. I had to start again. There's another fork. And I came up that way. So let's try this way. It actually reminds me a bit of when I'm writing and I get to a fork in the story and I try one way, and then that doesn't work, so I try another way. But the new path led to much the same spot, so I had to turn around and go back again. I did pass close to a tip building, but it wasn't close enough. And that's up to the road, but there looks to be, some kind of road here. Let's see where this goes. Looks like the road used to go through that fence, which is probably up to the tip, but there's another path just here, so we'll see. Okay, this is definitely the back. Quite close. There's a fence post, a fence, and there's the big mound of rubbish. That's the hanging swamp down there. And here we are. Definitely the back of the tip. Come out at the bottom and there are a lot of dead trees here. And on the way back, I found a fringed violet, and that's the second one this season, which is the first time that's ever happened to me. So not that exciting, but certainly new for me. And finally, last but not least, even though I've walked past the path that leads there a million times, I have never ever, in all my years of living here, gone to have a look at the lone pine planting in Libbrary. So that's what I did. This is the tree that was planted in 1919 to commemorate the men of Libbrary who died in the First World War. I can't believe it's still alive. And this is a recent plaque that's been installed explaining what it's all about. So I know none of it was exactly the Taj Mahal, and I know there are much more majestic views up here, which I've actually shown on my channel before. But all of these spots were part of the Blue Mountains, and it's sort of parts of the Blue Mountains that you wouldn't normally see. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this episode, and I guess until next time, happy reading.